We are in 2026. Today is January 18th. It's a new moon. And I've really been wanting to create content again for quite some time. This particular channel that I had started years ago, and just a couple of months ago, maybe somewhere around September, October of 2025, I deleted all of my content, all of the videos that I had made, some that were going back years and years and years. And I've done this. I've realized that I've gone through this revamping process many times over, where I say that I'm starting fresh, I'm starting anew, and this time is no different in the sense that I do want to start fresh. I do want to start anew. But I want to do it differently this time. Anytime that I've revamped videos, gone back to creating content after taking a very long break, I have done it with the intent of putting topics out there that were related to the spiritual wellness business that I had, that is the same name as this channel, In Her Power. But last year also, sometime around my birthday, which is in August, I took all of my anxiety and my frustration with my business and why things weren't working, and I asked Spirit, I asked my ancestors what I should be doing, and I heard just as clear as day that I needed to give this business up. I started crying because I had been working on this business for years. I started somewhere back in maybe like 2015, I want to say 2014, 2015, something like that. And my business was never generating any money. I wasn't making any money from Inner Power. Every time I would do a workshop or any sort of sound bath, sound healing, it would get me a little bit of a nudge, but I didn't ever feel as though I was making any traction. Then when I started to really make traction with everything, COVID hit. And then I thought, okay, well, I can do things virtually. I can do stuff online. I was offering classes talking about chakras and all this other stuff. And once again, things weren't happening. I just couldn't quite understand what was going on. But I kept trying, and I kept changing and reshaping and remolding the business and saying, well, maybe if I tweak this, maybe if I change this, if I'm more consistent, if I do a podcast. I started running myself into the ground. And then I got a job, and so I focused on the job, but I still didn't give up on this business idea. But I was exhausted, and I felt that I was just being drained, and I really didn't know what to do. I think that what was happening for me was there was a disconnect. I will say that everything that I talked about in my previous videos and my content all these years, because I had a channel before I had this channel, there was always a piece of me that I was presenting, that I was showing, and that I was being myself. But I was holding a huge part of myself back because I was afraid. I didn't know if it would be accepted. I didn't know if people would really truly embrace the real me. I didn't embrace the real me. I was still trying to spiritually bypass and do things that I thought were good on the surface just to kind of get me by. And even though healing was always something that was important and something that I intentionally worked on, getting to the core of things and really fully embracing myself and not trying to perform for others was still a struggle. And I think that there was that disconnect that resonated on my channel. I love to talk about spirituality. I love to talk about healing. I love to talk about wellness, but I always talked about these topics as if they were over there. There was a bit of a distance, and I didn't fully put myself into the content, really, truly put myself fully into the content. Now, towards the end, before I completely dissolved my business, I will say that there was a bit of a change and a transition where I felt as though I was being more authentic, and I was showing up in ways that were more genuine and more true. And some of it was a lot of embarrassment. There's a lot of shame. There was a lot of guilt. I'm not a perfect person, nor do I say or try to tell people that I am. In fact, I really oftentimes start off with my flaws, which maybe is not the best way, but self-deprecation was one of my processes, one of my kind of, safety modes for so long. I've been feeling the push to get back and talk about things and share topics. And I think one of the things that I'm going to really try to stick to is consistency. I'll be honest, I would love to have a stream of income where YouTube is a way that I could make some extra money. It had gotten to a point with one of the channels that I had years ago. There was a family channel. We had been building and building and building, and it got to the point where we were finally able to generate some income, and then that got dissolved. So I know that it's possible. And I oftentimes stop myself because I feel as though I have to look a certain way and I have to talk about certain things and I gotta follow the trends and I gotta make sure that I look presentable and all these other things. But I'm just wanting to be my authentic self as much as I possibly can. If that garners views, great. And then I guess if it doesn't at some point, then I'll dissolve this too and maybe I'll come back and maybe I won't. But in either case, I'm moving forward, and I'm moving forward with so much fear and trepidation into an unknown. A lot of people talked about how difficult 2025 was for them, but for me, it started back in 2022. Actually, it started back in 2020. Truth be told, it started back in 2019. 2019 was when things really hit the fan for me, and I had to really pivot so many different times to understand what in the world was going on and how in the world I had got to where I had gotten to. I had so many questions of what am I doing? What's going on? Why am I experiencing this? What's the point? And then when I got to a place where I became independent, I had to start restructuring, but I still had the residual scars from all of my past. And I realized I was trying to heal very quickly. I was trying to expedite everything, and I was trying to bring everyone along with me too. I wanted to heal fast. I didn't want to go through the awkward phase. I didn't want to go through the moments where I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm making mistakes, or I'm taking 10 steps forward and 12 steps back. I wanted to be on this fast trajectory of healing. And some of that was spiritual bypassing. And so much of my spiritual tools, all the things that I have in my spiritual tool belt, they weren't really helping me. I got rid of a lot of things. I got rid of a lot of crystals, pretty much all my crystals. I got rid of all my crystals. I got rid of some books. I got rid of things that I felt were being crutches that weren't really helping me. And I stripped myself completely down and I said, okay, I'm going to it's going to be me and spirit, me and God. That's it. The two of us just rocking and rolling and trying to just go through this life day to day and really lean in and trust that spirit has my back. And when I tell you that slowing down has been absolutely hard, it's been extremely difficult because I've had to now really address the pain that I had been avoiding for so long. And I'm not just talking about pain from like childhood or pain from recent experiences in my life where I had breakups and complete upheavals in my life. I'm talking about even sometimes the most seemingly insignificant pains, the little paper cuts that happen over time. Right around my birthday, this was last year, August of 2025, I turned 45 years old. And I made a commitment to myself. I said, I'm going to slow down and I'm really going to be intentional. I'm going to really slow down this time. I'm not going to bullshit. I'm not going to say that I'm going to slow down and then keep going at warp speed. And even right now, as 2026 was looming and I could feel myself shifting into something different and something new, and suddenly I was getting presented with opportunities and things were moving in my life, I could feel that desire to speed up. I could feel the need to have this expediency, and I kept trying to rein myself in and say, no, it's very important that I slow down. So I stripped away a lot of things, removed a lot of things out of my life. Some it was my design and I intentionally stripped myself of stuff, and some things other people did it for me. But in either case, it was what I knew was best for me, even if it felt difficult in the moment. Growth takes time. The life that I have been envisioning for so many years in terms of freedom. Now, one of the topics that I was leaning into a lot in a lot of my previous videos and a lot of my social media content was manifestation. People were talking about law of attraction, so I kind of jumped on that trend. And I was practicing this for myself and really envisioning this life that I wanted, but I was doing it from a place of looking at the physical. And I had to stop and say, what is it that I really want? What is it that the money actually would provide for me? What is it that this new career would provide for me? What are these things that I'm asking spirit for? What are these things that I'm tapping into? What is it that I'm trying to align myself with? It's not the things, it's what it's feeling. What's the underlying feeling that I'm trying to get towards. And the first thing that came up was freedom. Freedom is extremely important to me. And moving forward with fear, not being fearless, because I don't think it's possible for me to be fearless, but I can move with fear. For so much of my life, there has been an undercurrent of fear. Many of my decisions, many of my choices, many of the things that I see life through, the lens that I see life through, is out of fear. And I didn't realize until within the past year just how much I had been living in fear. And I began to see how exhausting that is. And it's exhausting because living from a place of fear often meant that I had to change who I thought I was or be somebody that I thought would be more accepting to other people. And I remember telling a friend of mine, a really, really good friend of mine, my best friend, that he should be the main character in his story. He should be the one that is the center and the camera is always on him. But I wasn't even taking the advice that I was giving him. I was still a sideline character in my own life. And I began to then say, what is it that I want? Not what do I think I should have, or more importantly, the way I was operating was oftentimes, let me go along with this because I don't want to disappoint somebody else. I don't want to disappoint my partner. I don't want to disappoint my parents. I don't want to disappoint my kids or my friends or my boss or whoever. And I kept having to remind myself that at my core, I'm not an evil, malicious person. So it's not as though me choosing myself is a bad thing, but I continually felt as though by choosing myself that I was being evil, that I was being bad, that I was going to lose relationships and people. And here's the thing. The secret is I still lost people. People still left, and I left people. I left people. Trying to live up to some sort of ideal that was based on an imagination that somebody else had, not even my own. So sometime after 2020, I began to envision what my life could be like, and I started from a place of a feeling. What is it that I want my life to feel like? And at first I really struggled with that. I really didn't know. And freedom and liberation and ease and slower pace, I couldn't know that in my body. I didn't know that. I was accustomed to fear. I was accustomed to anxiety. I was accustomed to tension and always holding my muscles tight and being in fight or flight and always getting ready to just go, 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 rather than be slow, slow, slow. And let me tell you, the first couple of months that I slowed down, it was painful. It was absolutely painful. I sat on this couch on weekends where it was just me, and there would be many times that I cried. Many times that I cried because I really just didn't know what to do. Here's my cat. This is Gizmo, y'all. Gizmo is actually one of the ways that I chose myself. I love cats. I've always loved cats. I grew up with cats and dogs. But for the most part, when I was on my own, I had dogs because either my partner or a friend or whoever didn't like cats. Really? They either didn't like cats or were deathly allergic to them. And now you're going to be up here and be a nuisance. Get down, sir. So I got a cat. And I've had him for about a month now. And he's 2 years old. I adopted him. He's absolutely wonderful. He's brought so much joy to my life. Choosing me. So this is the first video. And I want to remain consistent. I would like to say that all of my videos are going to have topics that are going to make sense. I don't think that's going to be the case. But I got to start somewhere. So, growth is slow. Manifestation is slow. Learning how to feel emotions that you have not been accustomed to start from the base level when it comes to manifestation and feeling the feeling before you have the thing in the physical can be difficult because sometimes you're so accustomed and addicted to the anxiety, the worry, the fear, the depression, the sadness, the grief, the loneliness, that being able to feel liberation and power and worthiness and love and compassion and intentionality for yourself and trust and truth can feel more dangerous than the feelings that you've already been accustomed to, which are actually not helping you. So that's where I'm at right now. I do feel like a shift is happening. I do feel like something is moving in a direction that feels good, but it also feels terrifying because I don't know what it is. And really the determining factor as to how well this is going to go is me. I could rely on tarot cards and crystals and all these other things, but really the determining factor is me, is my commitment, is my dedication to ensuring that I am moving in the direction towards the life that I desire and crave for myself. And it starts with small actions. It starts with little things here and there. This is one of those small actions. Making a video, hoping to edit as little as possible, but working my way up to actually having videos that I think will be visually pleasing, have like a nice visual aesthetic. But in the meantime, I'm going to be talking about things that I'm struggling with, things that I'm working on, things that I'm healing, things that my therapist and I have talked about that I can share with you that are appropriate and that won't be too intimate. But in either case, here we are. Here I am, starting from scratch. Let's try it out and see how it goes. You want to say bye?